I'm Dr. Duke with the New American, and this is my take on the news. Well, Christianity is in the news, but not for the right reasons. Yesterday, Donald Trump invited Mike Lindell, who is the president and CEO of MyPillow. I'm sure you know who he is. I've always admired this guy. He's a very earnest guy. He opened a pillow company in Minnesota, his home state. And he makes pillows and sheets. We actually have some My Pillows from him. I bought them primarily because I liked him and his worldview so much, and they're quality products. And he's really proud of the fact that he makes all the materials here in America. It's a completely an American. It's not farmed out to China or anywhere else. He hires American workers to make American products at a nice price too. So and I always admired him because when you see his commercials on TV, he always wears a cross, very visible, right over his collar. So he wears his faith literally on his sleeve. And Mike Lindell has transformed in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. He has transformed his MyPillow workshop, his fabrication plant, into a plant that makes masks. He's producing tens of thousands of masks every week that he's handing over to doctors, doing it for no profit, doing it simply as a Christian service to his neighbor. This is Christianity in action, right? Foregoing profit, foregoing selfish ability to raise money, to really risking his own resources to provide doctors with masks that will protect them from this disease as they go about the business of saving human life. It's a very beautiful story, and it's a very Christian story. So Mike Lindell was invited to the White House yesterday, where he sat down with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump gave him a very beautiful shout out. Here's a guy who's putting his money where his biblical faith is, right? And so Mike Lindell gave a little speech in which he called for a prayer and called for a return to biblical values. You would have thought, by watching the liberal mainstream media, that he behaved in the most shameless manner. The attacks on Mike Lindell and the attacks on Donald Trump from having him are a really important pressure point that we have to understand as Americans. We are no longer in the age where the culture wars reign. The culture wars are over. The culture wars have been won by ideological progressives, at least in the short term, with regards to how Christianity is viewed on the national stage. What immediately happened after Mike Lindell's very heartfelt speech, he went off script a little bit, talked about a revival of faith. It was met with mockery. It was met with outrage. It was met with horrible threats online from progressives. The mainstream media attacked us. One person called it, "Oh, great, Donald Trump now is doing infomercials on behalf of the Christian pillow guy." And what got me about all the coverage of this from the major news media, Hollywood, particularly liberal sources on places like Twitter, the outrage mob, basically the progressive atheist outrage mob. What struck me was the vehemence of the response against the idea that Christianity had any place in national discussions. It's almost as if the progressive left and all of their minions they're clearly embarrassed by Christianity and by Christian actions. But what really got me, guys, was the fact that they never mentioned the fact that these masks were being made. They were mocking and laughing at and making jokes about Trump and about Mike Lindell. They were making fun of the way he looked, the way he spoke, making fun of his call for prayer, always without acknowledging that whatever you think of Mike Lindell and his faith, he again has put his money where his faith is. He is using his plant, his wealth, to benefit all Americans that are secular, Americans who are atheists, scoffing, mocking liberals, progressives. All those people and the doctors who serve them are going to benefit because of what Mike Lindell has done. And to see the visceral outrage, the visceral anger, it reminded me really of the way that the accusers of Christ behaved the week before he was crucified. The mocking, the vehemence, the trying to drive mobs to react in really negative ways, to try to channel this outrage into undermining a president and a presidency. It was an unbelievable thing to see. But it's a pressure point. if you don't understand where we are in modern-day America, there's no way we're going to fix this trend. The culture wars are over, and the left won when it came to how we're going to view Christianity. Come on, admit it. You're sitting at home on an evening watching TV. You're watching your cable channels. You're watching your favorite shows. And what are you seeing during the commercials? More and more homosexuality, more and more transgenderism, more and more secularism, more promotion of Planned Parenthood, more and more of quote-unquote women's rights being masqueraded as the murder of babies being masqueraded as feminism and women's rights, the empowerment of the sexual revolution. What you're seeing now is it's not just progressive government, and that includes a lot of Republicans, deep state Republicans, and rhino Republicans. You're seeing not just this across government, but you're seeing it all throughout the entertainment industry, obviously. And you're seeing it in our education institutions. The fact that Christianity, I'm a professor at a university, I see it. Christianity on campus is viewed as toxic. It's viewed as, despite, even since, I'm not talking about hypocritical Christians who say one thing and do another, those wolves in sheep clothing that Christ warned us about. I'm not even talking about false Christians. I'm talking about Christians like Mike Lindell who do the right thing the right way, who are vocal in praising God and vocal in sacrificing for those who are in greater need than the rest of us. He has, again, put his faith on the line here. He is compromising his own wealth and his own position as a owner of a business to try to make the lives of everyone, regardless of their religious background, safer. And when you think about how mainstream this has gone now, we find ourselves in a really big predicament. Even when Christians are at their best in doing what Christianity has always done, risk life, limb, and property for the weaker in society, for those who have suffered, what Christ has called us to do, that's now not meant with a grudging tip of the hat. It's not meant with, well, I can't stand their ideology, but at least they're trying to help out. It is being met with, oh, they would rather not have those surgical masks. Those 50,000 surgical masks that are being produced every day and every week, we'd rather not have them if they're going to be presented by somebody like Mike Lindell. And you can hate Donald Trump all you want, but it's the fact that Donald Trump invited Mike Lindell is why they reflexively hate Lindell. I mean, Lindell would have been seen as a Minnesota country bumpkin, right? He'd have been seen as a backward kind of naive Christian. No one would have paid much attention to him. Maybe even some liberals would have bought his pillows because they're a quality product, but no one would have taken him seriously. This is Donald Trump that they're coming after. Donald Trump invited him. Donald Trump called him out and praised him. Donald Trump gave him a format in which to speak about his faith and values and his commitment to helping those who are literally risking their lives to treat the sick in this country. Seems like a definite call from Christ. Go out and visit the imprisoned and tend to the sick. This is major basic Christianity. But because Trump's the one doing it, the vehemence and the hatred is, for lack of a better word, demonic. It's diabolical. It's the thing of demons, the cackles and the hisses and the jokes. It's exactly what Christ warned us we would experience if we were loyal to him. What did Christ say was going to happen in this new age when the values of Christianity met the values of worldliness? You will be reviled and spit upon for my name's sake, he said. It was just really on display with Mike Lindell yesterday. And if in the heart of all this, we keep hearing how secular progressive atheists are the most compassionate people in the room. They're the only ones who care. They're the only ones who have hearts big enough to love, although it's almost always with somebody else's resources. They're the ones who are constantly telling you, the secular progressive atheists, that their version of socialism is what's real compassion for starving and suffering people, despite the horrible history of socialist countries starving and arresting and murdering their own people. It's just something to keep in mind as we move forward today. We learned today that abortions are now, the murdering of children are now essential services that every woman has the right to. Quarantine be damned. But going to church now is something that's going to get you arrested in Tampa Bay, or perhaps get your entire church closed down if you do it in New York City. We have reached a time that Christ said we would get to, where Christianity would no longer be the norm, but it would return to the status of persecution. We need to get to the realization that the persecution of Christianity that's going on worldwide outside of America is now finally coming to America, and the progressives are leading it. I'm Dr. Duke with The New American, and this has been my take on the news.